The internet has become a hunting ground. It's a place where predators know they can access children.
And within 60 seconds, I know where they last went on holidays. I know the name of the dog. I know that she was a member of the Nippers when she was really little. I know she does hip hop classes every Wednesday after school. And some days she walks to her mum's office.
A couple of months into their conversations, this person said, "Oh, so what are you up to today?" The 14-year-old said, "Oh, I'm at home by myself." They were on Snapchat. That 46-year-old rocked up on that 14-year-old's doorstep within 2 hours.
Hi, I'm Gary Jubelin, former New South Wales detective, and I'm sitting here with Madeleine West that most people know. We're doing a podcast called Predatory. It's uncovering the type of crime that people don't want to talk about, and that's the sexual abuse of children. So Madeleine, on the podcast, we've spoken to a number of experts in that field. One of the experts was Kira Pendergast from Safe on Social.
On your Instagram account, parents often post "Happy birthday, darling," with a number 10 or something on a birthday cake or balloons in the background, giving away your child's date of birth. Hashtag first day of school is another cracker, because then you're giving away where your children go to school.
She's doing some amazing work trying to educate the children on being safe in an environment that we don't often suspect that pedophiles could prey on, but that's social media.
And it's more than any other. And it's a modern day convenience. So It's an inconvenient truth that this most modern day convenience, the internet and social media, has become a hunting ground for children. And there's no other way to put it, because it is an area that encourages lawlessness, it allows people to be anonymous, and it gives complete access to children for hours upon hours every day. So if there's anywhere that predators are going to lurk, it's right there.
And the type of work that she does, she's going out to schools, educating children.
And teachers and parents. It's
now,
really important.
The thing with parents, and from your own experience, because you were abused as a child, sexually abused as a child, so you're very much aware of how these things and the impact it has on your life.
Hyper aware. But that did not educate me as to this most obvious access point, the screens that I myself had given to my children. And I think every parent out there is guilty of occasionally letting the screen be a nanny for our children, and that's fair enough. And we don't want to discourage that.
Yeah.
We know it's an amazing thing. It's an educational tool used in every school across the country. But the fact is, it is where predators lurk.
Something that parents have got to understand, anyone that's looking after children or responsible for children, is how proactive sex offenders are, in particular pedophiles. In my experience in policing, not only do they, their life revolves around finding a victim, and so they're proactive. That's why I call them, and I refer to them as predators. They're looking for their next victim. And what you'll found out on social media,
Absolutely.
it's readily available there. It's a perfect environment for them to make a connection.
Yeah, and the degree of grooming, the patience and attention that goes into that. And they're not just grooming children, they're grooming everyone around the child and everyone in their own life to get away with what they're doing, and that is accessing children. And I think one of the areas that we're all aware as parents of is gaming. A lot of people try to discourage their children from gaming. I would not suggest that, because it is a peer group thing. Kids make connections with a wider social circle. They learn things that they might not have access to, and it can be the generator of career trajectories, working in the music industry, working in the film industry, becoming a gaming tech, becoming a...
I think too, Madeleine, what you're saying there, that we assume that we're ahead of the game with technology than the kids are. But the kids are way ahead.
They're on top of it. There are stories that have been released recently about how kids who've been banned from all devices have used the home Siri or Alexa account to access friends on Snapchat, Instagram, etc. They're very cluey, and the technology is advancing at a rate of knots. And frankly, the legislation and the protective protocols which are designed to protect kids, designed to protect all of us, are not keeping up with the technology. And that's why speaking to someone like Kira is so inspiring and also so terrifying. She became the founder of eSafety offshoot. She was working with eSafety for quite a long time, and she'd come from cyber security. She started Safe on Socials because of her own personal experience of being stalked, groomed and attacked online.
And she gives out some great advice.
Yeah, she absolutely does. One of the most terrifying from my own experience as a parent trying to understand what my kids were doing in the gaming sphere was to become a gamer myself and educate myself on it. And one of my most shocking experiences was teaching myself Roblox. So I set up an avatar as a 7-year-old child so I could play alongside my own children in that particular world and know what they were doing. They were aware that I was there so that they knew that I could see exactly what they were doing in the gameplay. Now, I was invited into group chats and chat rooms within the Roblox gaming forum and was encountering other people who were saying they were also children, but they asked me to engage as my avatar in sexual acts, sexual conversations, sexual gameplay within these chat rooms. And seeing some of the visuals, seeing the avatar characters actually being encouraged to engage in sexual activities online, for a child, that is utterly inappropriate.
And what ages are we talking here?
Saying they're 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, even younger. And that, for me, demonstrated that what is once seen, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
The damage is done, and it is sexual abuse. And that opens up children to normalising things that they should not be exposed to at that age. And from that Roblox setting, there was requests to join them on other platforms, Snapchat, various other group chats, Instagram, and that's where location services became an issue, because a lot of parents aren't aware that their kids' accounts require to be on ghost mode or these people only. Snapchat's a great example.
You had an example that was particularly terrifying. We're having a chat one day, and you told me an example of someone that found an address.
Oh, absolutely.
Explain that, because I think that sort of brings it home.
Yeah, it happened here. It happened in the Northern Rivers in New South Wales. A 14-year-old boy was playing Fortnite, which is one of those games that every parent is aware that their kids are playing. It's absolutely addictive and it's a real pain in the butt, but kids play it.
Yeah.
So this boy was playing this game with what he thought was a 15-year-old boy. Turns out that 15-year-old was a 46-year-old man. He encouraged the 14-year-old to join him on Snapchat so they could converse when they're not on the actual game console. And in their conversations, they were just sharing general things about their lives. A couple of months, and this took months, a couple of months into their conversations, this person said, "Oh, so what are you up to today?" The 14-year-old said, "Oh, I'm at home by myself." They were on Snapchat. He didn't have ghost mode or these people only set into his device modes. That 46-year-old rocked up on that 14-year-old's doorstep within 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it was only that the child's older brother, an 18-year-old, had come home and answered the door that stopped an absolute disaster playing out.
That just brings it home that it's not something that's off in the distance, in the never, that they don't physically get to harm children. That's just an example that you've come across.
Absolutely.
That, that could have terrible ramifications.
And if we look at situations like Carly's Law, where there has been absolute predation, there has been sexual abuse of children, rape of children, and murder of children, and it's been facilitated by online activities.
Yeah, I think we've got to shift our thinking that how do you protect children? Before you protect the children, you go down the playground and you keep an eye on the children while they're playing in the playground. But that's changed. The world's changed, and from a policing point of view, I know police understand how proactive these people are.
Some of these syndicates run multiple sites, whether they're chat sites or forums, and they'll actively promote online security, where it's just as important to them as the child abuse material itself.
And we haven't even talked in depth about the dark web, but the police are proactively involving themselves in that to stay one step ahead of them, because I think people need to appreciate how proactive these people are to seek out. They're driven.
And it's a frustration for police because you can only police so far.
Yeah.
What can you do if a parent is willingly giving their child a device and letting them use it unchecked? And it's one thing to have parenting locks on the games, but kids are smart.
Yeah.
They talk to each other, and they're far more educated in it and how to access it than we are as parents. We have an obligation to keep to keep them safe, to educate ourselves to best facilitate that.
Yep.
And I think there is a tendency to think about concepts like the dark web, which seems like a big bad boogeyman over the other side of the world. It's in our lounge rooms. It's in Roblox, it's in Snapchat, it's on Instagram.
Yeah, the dark web is not something you see on a spy movie.
No.
What's happening is people playing games harmlessly, and this was potentially exposing them to risk.
And it's leading to the sexploitation of children as young as 5 and 6. As soon as they get their hands on a device, it's basically giving predators, pedophiles, a green light to access that child.
And Madeleine, your passion in this area is because you have been a victim, and the ramifications, the flow-on effects it have for the rest of your life from being a victim of child sexual abuse.
They're cataclysmic. And you can look back so many detours and turns you take in your life when you drill down to where it's come from. It's originated from being exposed to something that no child should ever be exposed to, that teaches you that the world is not a safe place, that bad things happen to good people, and no matter what you do, you're not safe, and there's no one looking out for you. Well, I want to create a space where we're looking out for them.
Well, and we're going to try and educate people on this podcast series on how to protect your children and make the world a harder place for these predators to exploit.
And if they're out there and they think they've gotten away with it, well, they've got another thing coming.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about that there's no statute of limitations. So I hope they're feeling uncomfortable, and we're going to make the world uncomfortable for them. That's our aim on the podcast.
And for every victim out there to feel that, like myself, it's never too late to come forward. That they're not alone, and it's not their fault. They were never to blame.